You ever look at a coworker and think, something's just off? Now imagine you're stuck with them in Antarctica. No phone signal, no rescue teams, just endless snow and bone-deep cold. And now imagine one of them isn't even human. This isn't just paranoia. This is the Thing, a shape-shifting organism that doesn't just kill its victims, it becomes them. Their voice, their scars, even their memories. And if you miss just a single cell of it, you're next. So, what does it take to survive when your enemy could be literally anyone? Let's break down the biology, the science, and the tactics you need not to just fight the thing, but to outsmart it. The most terrifying monsters aren't the ones you can see. They're the ones you think you know. The Thing's power lies in imitation. It doesn't just wear your skin. It rebuilds you from the inside out. Every twitch, every memory, every tiny scar, perfectly duplicated. That coworker with the bad knee from high school football? It'll even fake the limp. But here's where it gets horrifying. This isn't just a costume. It's cellular. Each of its cells operates independently, like a biological spy network. That's what makes it near impossible to detect. In nature, we already see glimpses of this. The mimic octopus can change its shape and behavior to impersonate more dangerous creatures. Some species of flatworms regenerate into whole organisms from tiny pieces, similar to the Thing's survival reflex. And then there's Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, a fungus that hijacks ant brains, controlling them like remote-controlled zombies until they die and sprout a fungal stalk from their heads. It doesn't just infect, it absorbs. It breaks you down cell by cell, records everything, and then reassembles itself as you, while you're still alive, just long enough to learn all your habits, quirks, memories. Now, imagine this. If a single cell of it enters your bloodstream, maybe from a shared food, a cough, or a cut, it can begin assimilating you. Slowly, quietly, no pain, no screams. You might even feel fine, until one day, you're not you anymore. And worse, there's no guaranteed visible sign. No bulging eyes, no slimy monster transformation. It just walks around, perfectly mimicking you. Maybe a little too calm. Maybe it forgets something small, but by then, it's already too late. And that's why you can't trust observation. Humans are wired to look for patterns, but the Thing is the pattern. Which leads to a terrifying question. If you can't trust your eyes, what can you trust? No creature is invincible, and the Thing has cracks in its armor. The first, and most famous, is fire. The Thing is allergic to heat. It's completely vulnerable to it. Burn it, and you destroy it. Not just kill it, erase it. It doesn't matter if it's in full monster mode or perfectly disguised. If you incinerate every cell, it's gone. This isn't sci-fi drama either. In real-life biohazard response protocols, like those used to contain Ebola or anthrax, extreme heat is a last resort method of sterilization. Temperatures over 1,000 degrees Celsius destroy DNA and proteins at the molecular level. And that's important because the Thing is not a virus. It's not a bacteria. It's something else entirely. But it still follows biology's basic rules when it comes to heat. That's why flamethrowers work. That's why the blood test scene is genius. The Thing reacts violently to pain, even at the cellular level. Now let's talk about its second weakness, inorganic material. In the 2011 prequel, scientists discover a grisly clue. When someone's been assimilated, their metal implants are left behind. Dental fillings, pacemakers, surgical pins. The Thing copies flesh, not steel. That means if someone had a gold tooth yesterday and doesn't today, bad news. This isn't even unique to fiction. In regenerative biology, Even advanced tech like bioprinters can't recreate synthetic implants. So, if you're trying to pass for human, but forget to recreate a piercing, tattoo, or implanted device, you're exposed. And then there's the distributed biology. Remember that iconic moment when Mac Reddy tests the blood and it leaps out of the petri dish? That's not exaggeration. It's something we almost see in nature. Slime molds, creatures without brains, can navigate mazes, solve spatial puzzles, and react to danger using only individual cell clusters working in sync. The Thing takes that principle and applies it to horror. Severed limbs keep moving, detached tissue reacts violently to harm. It's a hive mind built out of flesh. So, how would you use that? You provoke it. You force a response. You don't ask if someone's clean. You test them until they scream. Whether it's fire, pain, or stress, the Thing reacts. And when it does, you burn it to ash. Let's fast forward to today. Say you're stuck in Outpost 31, but you've got access to modern medical tech. Would that help? Sort of. Let's look at PCR testing. It's the backbone of virus detection today. It works by amplifying tiny fragments of DNA or RNA to check for specific signatures. But here's the problem. The Thing copies DNA flawlessly. So, if you run a PCR test of infected blood, it might pass. That's terrifying. How about thermal imaging? In theory, yes. During transformation, the Thing's metabolic activity skyrockets. That could show up as heat. In a freezing room, a sudden hot spot could be a sign. But once it stabilizes, its temperature returns to baseline. It's you again, down to your heartbeat. Then there's proteomics, testing for unique proteins in blood. That might work. If the Thing has even one enzyme or metabolic product that differs from ours, we could find it. But identifying that takes weeks of lab work, and you don't have that in a blizzard. So what's the best strategy? Field diagnostics. You ditch the science lab and go primal. Use stress-based triggers, fire, pain, sudden shocks. You're not testing DNA, you're testing reaction. Even the best disguise flinches when it's poked. Pair that with physical checks. Did someone's scar vanish? Do they no longer wear contacts? Missing tattoos? Any sudden changes in dental work? Even a tiny error could save your life. In short, don't trust your eyes, trust the data. And when in doubt, burn first, ask questions, never. But let's say your science is solid. You've got your tests, your flamethrower, your plan. Even then, you might not make it. Why? Because the Thing's greatest weapon is fear. Imagine being stuck with 12 people in a freezing, isolated base. Any one of them could be a perfect copy, maybe more than one, and you'll never know until it's too late. This is where humans crack, fast. Studies on group survival, especially in combat or disaster zones, show that trust is everything. Once trust erodes, cooperation fails. Once cooperation fails, you're already dead. In fact, military SEER training, survival, evasion, resistance, escape, teaches soldiers that isolation, suspicion, and paranoia are more dangerous than enemy fire. Your brain will sabotage you before your enemy does. That's what the Thing counts on. It doesn't need to assimilate everyone. It just needs to break you apart emotionally. Blair losing it and destroying the radio? He wasn't infected. He was scared. He acted on logic, twisted by fear. And in that fear, he became a threat equal to the Thing. That's why Mac Reddy's leadership worked. Not because he had answers, but because he imposed structure, a routine, shared sacrifice, group tests, no exceptions. In high-pressure environments, that's everything. If you want to survive, Forget the flamethrower. Build a protocol. Create clear rules. Rotate watch shifts. Enforce regular testing. Make everyone accountable. You don't survive by being the smartest. You survive by being the most disciplined. All right, let's say you've done everything right. You've tested, you've isolated, you've got one suspect left. What do? You don't try to quarantine. You don't try to rehabilitate. You don't try to escape. You destroy. Total incineration is the only guaranteed win. Every single cell must be turned to ash. Even a fingernail or speck of blood could start the process all over again. MacReady's plan to blow up the entire base? This wasn't a last resort. This was the only responsible course of action. In fact, it mirrors real-world scorched earth tactics, used when you can't contain a threat, so you deny its resources. The CDC uses incineration protocols at over 1800 degrees Fahrenheit to destroy prions, molecular killers that even bleach can't touch. So, what's your plan? Step 1. Isolate. Keep movement minimal. Everyone under watch, no one alone. Step 2. Test continuously. Behavior, reaction, physical anomalies. Step 3. Enforce fire discipline. Anyone suspected, burn them. No discussion. Step 4. Destroy the facility. Tear up the floorboards, collapse the tunnels, burn the bodies, leave nothing behind. And finally, no one leaves, not even you. Because even if you're 99.9% sure you're clean, the thing only needs that 0.1%. The thing isn't just a sci-fi creature. It's a stress test. A test of logic over instinct, science over emotion, protocol over panic. It's a reminder that in crisis, survival doesn't come down to strength or speed, but clarity, rationality, the ability to act when your brain is screaming to freeze. So, here's the final question. Would you pass that test? Would you torch your friend to save the group? Would you destroy your only shelter to stop the spread? Would you die alone in the snow to save the world? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives where horror meets science and survival meets the impossible. Because in the end, the real monster isn't out there in the dark. It's the one you almost trusted.